Your dog is asleep on the floor right now, paws twitching, eyes flickering beneath their lids, and somewhere, inside a brain you will never fully access, something is happening. The question isn't whether animals dream. The question is what they're dreaming about. In 2001, researchers at MIT made a discovery so strange that when they published it, many scientists refused to accept it. They had been studying rats running mazes during the day, standard neuroscience. But at night, while the rats slept, they kept recording. They were monitoring place cells, which are neurons that fire in specific patterns to map physical space, like a GPS of experience written directly into brain tissue. And what they found stopped the lab cold. The rats weren't just sleeping, they were running the mazes again, the exact same sequence, playing back like a film they couldn't turn off. These weren't random electrical signals. These were memories, specific, detailed, emotionally weighted memories, replaying inside a brain the size of a walnut, in the dark, in a cage, with no one watching. And here is the part almost nobody talks about. The rats who had the hardest time with the maze during the day replayed it the most during the night, as if something in them refused to let go. This wasn't just rats. In the 1960s, a French neuroscientist named Michel Jouvet discovered that a small region in the brainstem paralyzes muscles during REM sleep, a failsafe, to keep the body still while the mind runs wild. So he removed it from sleeping cats. The cats stood up while sleeping eyes still closed, stalking invisible prey, arching their backs, hissing at nothing, pouncing at shadows that didn't exist. They weren't awake. They were inside something. And whatever was in there, it was vivid enough to make a body move. But this is where it starts to get stranger. Because the question isn't just, do they dream? The question is, do they dream the way we do? Is there a moment inside the mind of a sleeping dog where the field is green and the ball is flying and everything is exactly as good as it ever was? And when they wake up, is there a moment of loss? Elephants almost never lie down. Not because they can't, but because when an elephant lies down and enters REM sleep, they become deeply vulnerable. In the wild, that vulnerability could mean death. So most nights, they sleep standing, drifting in and out of shallow unconsciousness, but every few days, they lie down. And that's when researchers believe they enter REM. And the elephants who experience trauma, the ones who watch their families die, those elephants thrash, vocalize, wake suddenly in the dark. Now here is the part that should disturb you. We have long assumed that the suffering of animals ends when the event ends, that the elephant who watched her family die simply moves on. But if they dream, and they do, then trauma doesn't end at the moment of waking. It replays, in the dark, in the body, in the only language the unconscious knows, sensation, image, fear. And this is where everything changes, because we are no longer talking about neuroscience. We are talking about what it means to suffer. Philosophers call inner subjective experience qualia, the redness of red, the pain of pain, the dream inside the dream. For centuries, the dominant assumption was that qualia was exclusively human. Descartes argued that animals were biological machines, that their cries of pain were no different from the creak of a hinge. But here is what the science now tells us. The neurological architecture responsible for dreaming, the hippocampus, the amygdala, the brainstem REM circuitry, is not uniquely human. It is ancient. It is shared. The same structures exist in every mammal on Earth, in birds and reptiles, possibly in some invertebrates. Dreaming didn't evolve in us. We inherited it from something older. In 2019, a researcher in Brazil filmed a sleeping octopus, and as it drifted into what appeared to be REM-like sleep, its skin began to move, colors pulsing, patterns shifting, textures changing, spots appearing and dissolving like thoughts made visible, almost like watching a mind project itself onto skin. Here is what makes this extraordinary. Octopuses are colorblind, yet in the depths of whatever unconscious state they enter, they are generating vivid, dynamic, chromatic imagery, or something we have absolutely no language for, because we study animal dreams by measuring brain activity that mirrors our own. But an octopus doesn't have a centralized brain. 2/3 of its neurons are in its arms. Its experience of reality, of time, of space, of self, may be so alien to ours that the word dream doesn't even apply. It might be something else entirely, something we don't have a word for, something we may never be able to conceptualize. And if that's true, how many other forms of inner experience are happening right now in the minds of creatures we've barely studied, in forms of consciousness we haven't even imagined? And maybe the most unsettling question isn't what animals dream about. Maybe the most unsettling question is this: if they dream, if they remember, if they suffer in their sleep, then what have we been doing? And what does that make us?